Okay, and we're recording, and I have gone live now. Okay, so whenever you want to start, Quadwell.
Sounds good. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the ACE Your Job Interview Workshop. I will be your host and facilitator, and my name is Kwadwo Yaranki. Over to you, Megan.
All right, and my name's Megan. I am the not the branch librarian. That was my last role. I am a diversity and adult services librarian at Brampton Library. And before we begin, we would like to acknowledge that Brampton Library is located on the treaty territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, and before them, the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee, Huron, and Wendat. We also acknowledge the many First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and other global Indigenous people and all call Brampton their home. We are honored to live, work, and enjoy this land. Right. So yeah, as Kwadwo mentioned, we are joined here today by Kwadwo Yaranki, who works for Job Skills. Now, for those of you who have not used Job Skills in the past, we highly recommend using their services. They're free to use, and it's a government-funded organization. And they can help you find meaningful work, which is something you want much more than just going on any regular job searching platform. They'll work with you to build your resume, prepare for job interviews, and find the job that's right for you. So Kwadwo is a facilitator with Job Skills Employment Services. He's an engaging and energetic speaker with proven expertise in motivating clients of all ages. His over 10 years frontline experience includes job coaching, career counseling, curriculum development, training, and working with diverse clients across job skills and local communities. We're excited to have you join us today for the third session in this 4-part job skills series. Please leave your questions and comments in the chat if you're joining us through Eventbrite or Webex, or leave a comment if you're watching Facebook Live. We love your questions and comments, so please don't be shy. Please also note that there will be a recording of this session posted to Brampton Library's YouTube channel in the coming days, so you can check that out as well. For those who are registered through Eventbrite today, I will be emailing a resource list that Kwadwo has put together after the session is over. And if you're viewing this on Facebook Live or YouTube and would also like the resources sent to you, just email events@bramptonlibrary.ca to request it, and I'll send it your way. So without further ado, I'm very pleased to pass the mic over to Kwadwo, who will be talking us through how to interview like a pro today.
Thank you so much, Megan, and thank you folks for joining us. I believe that this session will prove to be another informative session. So before we start, if you haven't grabbed your notebooks or pen or pencil, please do so. And also maybe just download a worksheet of some sort, or basically open up a Word document and get ready to type in some of the content, okay? Thank you so much. At this time, we'll start. Next, please. So in terms of our agenda, we're hoping to cover these 10 key things. So first of all, we'll pave the introductions welcome. Megan has already taken care of that. Shortly, Megan will walk us through Webex Basics, and then we'll talk about the workshop objective. Number 4, Megan once again will take us through the Brampton Public Library's overview. Then I'll take over with number 5 by providing an overview as to our core programs and services. And number 6, I'll talk briefly about our welcome centers. I'll provide an overview. Then we'll pave the way by talking about the types of interviews that you'll face. Then number 8, the types of questions and how you can begin to formulate or structure your answers. Then number 9, we'll talk about difficult questions that you may face. And then I'll briefly talk about video assistance. So I believe, Megan, there are a few more points. Are you able to proceed? Oh, was that it?
That was
Okay.
all that I can see on my
Okay.
screen.
No problem. And then definitely before we conclude with the session, I'll provide some contact information. Thank you. So over to you, Megan.
Yeah, so I'll just go over some Webex basics for those of us who are joining us here on Webex. So please mute yourself. From the bottom of the toolbar, you'll see a little microphone, and you just click on that to make sure that you're muted, and turn off your camera prior to the start of the workshop, which I will be doing shortly. Click chat to activate the chat window. So that is on the upper right side. You can just click on that. If you have a comment or a question, please put it in there. And then if you'd like to use the raise hand feature, you can. It's under reactions, and then you can raise hand, or just put your question, whatever you have to say in the chat, as I say. If you'd like to use closed captions, that's on the lower left-hand side. You can just click on the CC button, and that will allow you to ask that will allow you to access closed captions in case that's helpful to you. All right.
Thank you, Megan. So in terms of the workshop objective, we have these 4 key points that we were hoping to cover. So upon the completion of today's session, we should be able to understand the various types of interviews. Secondly, also share ideas for success in or within interviews. Thirdly, discuss types of questions and how you can begin to answer them successfully. And then fourth, you will then be equipped to practice your interview skills on your own. Thank you. Next, please. I believe this is yours, Megan.
Yes, this is me
Thank
again.
you.
So just some announcements on the library. Branches are all open for curbside pickup right now while the provincial lockdown remains. Download our new app today as well. Just go to your Google Play Store or your App Store and search Brampton Library, and it's a really easy way to navigate our catalog and your account. You can place things on hold, renew your items, see when your due dates are, look at our calendar. It's a really great tool. I highly recommend it. And then upcoming virtual programs. Tomorrow I am co-hosting Black Voices in Canada with the Peel Art Gallery Museum and Archives. That's at 2 p.m. We also have lots of different book clubs, the Pride Book Club up for discussion book club, and we have in a few weeks we have a Winter's End book club to celebrate the end of winter. I think we can all use some warm weather soon, so let's end the season right. And then we have at-home trivia every other or the second Thursday of every month. And then, of course, we have the closing of our job skills series next week, where Quadwo is going to, today we're talking about interview skills, next week specifically video interviewing. So for all of those and many, many more programs, you can go to bramptonlibrary.eventbrite.ca. All right, back over to you, Quadwo.
Thank you, Megan. So before we get started, I'd like to take a few minutes to talk about job skills in terms of what we do. So Job Skills Overview. Job Skills is a nonprofit community-based employment and training organization. We've been established since 1988 when we opened up our doors in Georgina, Ontario. Job Skills has been serving the community for 30 plus years. Our mission statement. Job Skills offers employment solutions connecting the skills of job seekers with the needs of employers to create a more vibrant community. As an agency, today we provide employment, employer, newcomer, and business services and programs across the Greater Toronto area. During this difficult and trying time, we want you to know that Job Skills is still here for you. Our clients, our employers, our community members, as we continue to deliver our services remotely. Next, please. Job Skills Overview. Job Skills connects with over 20,000 job seekers annually and works with over 2,000 small, medium, and large employers in York, Peel Regions, and Simcoe County. In addition, Job Skills serves job seekers, employers, and the community in 7 core locations, ranging from Keswick, Newmarket, Markham, and Brampton in Ontario, Canada. Moreover, Job Skills delivers over 20 programs and services to assist individuals and specialized groups with job searching through a return to work action plan, individualized employment counseling sessions, starting a business, work experience placement, and employment opportunities. Furthermore, job skills supports employers with the entire recruitment process. Job fairs, hiring incentives, outplacement services, and specialized services to meet specific labor market needs. Overall funding is received from the federal, provincial, and municipal governments, the Ontario Trillium Foundation, the Greater Toronto Airports Authorities, and the United Way of Greater Toronto. Next, please. In terms of the Welcome Center's overview, you may have family members and friends who are based out in York Region. If you know any newcomers or new immigrants to Canada, please simply refer them to our Welcome Center Immigrant Services within York Region. Welcome Center Immigrant Services is a one-stop service designed to guide and support newcomers or immigrants at locations in York and Durham regions. Services are located under one roof, making it easier for individuals to access the supports they need to help with their economic, social, and cultural integration. More than 10,000 newcomers receive supports annually at the 5 centers within York Region. Next, please. Welcome Center's overview continued. Job Skills is responsible for providing employment services at each of the 5 Welcome Centers within York Region. The following services are also provided at each Welcome Center to support newcomers or immigrants. We have settlement and integration services, English language classes, accreditation and qualifications assistance, interpretation services, and other services based on community needs. Next, please. Great. I believe now we're formally or officially getting into our conversation. So at this time, I just want to remind people to have a notebook, pen, or pencil handy, or just simply open up a Word document and get ready to type in some of these key content that I'll be sharing. So to pave the way, we're talking about the types of interviews. When we talk about interviews, interviews can be classified in 3 of the following ways: either formal, informal, assessment, or testing based. Let's start with the first one, the formal interview. So with a formal interview, employers ask you a set of prepared questions and take notes. Also, there may be a test as part of the process with a hands-on test or exercise in your area or field of work. Here's the strategy that you need to use for the formal interview. Prepare your answers to all types of questions so that you'll not be surprised during the interview. Make sure you practice your answers through a mock interview or video mock interview so that you can see your body language, hear your own voice, and get feedback on your answers. These practice interviews will help you to manage your nerves before and during the interview. Secondly, let's talk about the informal interview. So the informal interview we know is conducted by one or more people. It is more of a chit chat with you, perhaps at their desk or in the workplace itself. Formal questions are not usually asked, but rather general conversation takes place, often with the employer looking at your resume during the conversation and asking you questions about your past work experience. Also, there may be some general informal friendly conversation about the job or the company and possibly some personal small talk in which the interviewer will try to assess your fit. So for the informal interview, here's the strategy. Use this opportunity to make sure that you get across your benefit statement and other relevant points about your experience, your skills, attitude, and motivation for the job. Do not hesitate to bring up specific examples of your experience and accomplishments. Also, you can use the situation or opportunity to show yourself as a person who is friendly, outgoing, and cooperative. And lastly, with the assessment or testing based interview, we know this fact. It's an opportunity to demonstrate your abilities. This format allows you to showcase your competencies and aptitudes for the job. So here's the strategy. Before the interview, make sure that you have a good idea of what you do well and take advantage of your strengths. Also, know your weaknesses and prepare well to overcome them when you face obstacles in applying them. So these are the three classifications that you need to be aware of. Next, please. So in talking about the types of interview, you can see my extensive list before you. So firstly, we have the audition interview. So let me start from there, and then we'll work our way down. So for the audition interview, this interview allows you to demonstrate your abilities in interactive ways that are likely familiar to you. This is the good news. Expect to apply talents in music, acting, modeling, photography, and art, etc. It's often a once in a lifetime opportunity to demonstrate your talent. So please make sure you use this opportunity to shine. Let's move on to the behavioral interview. Many employers increasingly rely on behavioral interviews since they use your previous behavior to indicate your future performance. It's highly probable that you will be asked to describe a time that required problem solving skills, adaptability, leadership, conflict resolution, multitasking, initiative, or stress management. Please note that for the behavioral interview, over 60% of interviews these days will have such questions asked. Remember, let's move on to the coworker interview. So for the coworker interview, interviewers are potential coworkers who aren't trained interviewers. Furthermore, they rely on you to lead the discussion. So for the coworker interview, they just want to get a feel as to who you are and whether they can work alongside you. Let's move on and talk about the group interview. So for the group interview, interview can be done simultaneously or at the same time with other candidates. Furthermore, it provides the company with a sense of your leadership potential and style. Make sure to avoid overt power conflict, which will make you look uncooperative and immature. Observe to determine the dynamics the interviewer establishes, and if you're not sure of what is expected from you, make sure to ask for clarification from the interviewer. So these days, a lot of industries use group interview. Whether you're in social services, whether you're in the medical field, whether you're in manufacturing, whether you're in IT, you can expect to be engaged with a group interview. Remember that. Let's move on and talk about line supervisor interview. So with line supervisor interview, interviewers are direct supervisors. Interview questions are more technically inclined. They will be overseeing your work. So they want to see you in action before a decision is made. They might take you through a simulation or a brief exercise in order to evaluate your skills. So if you're ever invited to a line supervisory type interview, please make sure you brush up on your core competencies, on your technical skills, because you will be tested. Let's move on and talk about the lunch or dinner interview. So for the lunch dinner interview, the same interview rules will apply at a meal as those held in an office setting. Although the setting may be more casual or laid back, remember it is still a business meeting or a meal, and you are being watched carefully. Use the interview to develop a common ground with your interviewer. Make sure you follow the interviewer's lead in both the selection of food and etiquette, and do not drink any alcohol at all during the interview process. Remember that. Let's move on to the panel interview. So for the panel interview, we know it's quite popular nowadays, especially if you're vying for a mid-level to a senior level opportunity. Even sometimes you may face the panel interview for an entry-level job as well, as competition is now relatively high. So for the panel interview, interview is conducted by two or more interviewers. Ideally, someone from HR, could be the president of the company or a supervisor. Formally introduce yourself and be prepared to shake hands. Remember to treat each person as an important individual. Furthermore, refer to each person by their name. Make eye contact with everyone while you're responding to their questions, because at the end of the day, you don't know who's going to make that decision as to whether they'll hire you or not. Also, prepare psychologically to expend more energy and be more alert than you would be in a one-on-one interview. That's the panel interview. Personnel interview, oftentimes this is referred to as face-to-face, one-on-one, so this is pretty traditional. So for the personnel interview, personnel representatives are trained interviewers. This rigid format is used to ensure parity between interviews. When interviewers ask each candidate the same series of questions, they can more readily compare the results. They evaluate your overall potential and decide how well you'll fit within the company. So with a personnel interview, here's the tip. Do your best to answer the technical the technical questions well. And in conjunction with that, make sure that you allow your personality to shine, because beyond your technical expertise, they want to also understand whether they can see you fitting within their team. Remember that. Stress interview. This type of interview was more common in sales positions but rarely used today. Used deliberately to assess how well you handle yourself under pressure. Furthermore, it's seen as a legitimate way of determining candidate suitability. So remember, with the stress interviews, situations will be staged. So sometimes maybe the interviewer might be argumentative, combative, or they may even doubt your credentials, or they may ask you questions which seem inappropriate. Friends, just remember, with a stress interview, they may be deliberately setting you up for failure. So remember your key message and make sure that you sell yourself to the best of your ability. And especially if there are any delay tactics, please don't just get up and leave. Sometimes there could be a delay of half hour to an hour if you're doing the interview in person, or maybe virtually as well. They may delay you. They may say maybe the interview will take place at 1 o'clock. You might not receive a call till maybe 1:45 p.m. That could be a tactic just to see how you deal with anxiety or stress. Remember these. All right. Let's move on and talk about the telephone interview. So, for the telephone interview, we know it's a screening tool to ensure that candidates meet minimum qualification requirements. Make sure you highlight your accomplishments and qualifications, and make sure to use your winning personality and sell yourself through the tone of your voice. So the telephone interview, friends, in my opinion, could be the easiest one. Why? Because you're not sitting in front of the interviewer. When you get this opportunity, though, make sure that you use your voice to your advantage, because unfortunately, they cannot be mesmerized by your good looks. So all you have to do is to make sure that you use inflection and sound excited, sound high energy, and when you're talking about sensitive things, also bring your tone of voice down to match the sensitivity. Because at the end of the day, with the telephone interview, you want them to get excited about wanting to meet you in person. Remember that. Let's conclude with a video conference interview. Please listen in. Some employers today use video conferences to conduct interviews, which is very common as we're going through this pandemic. It's highly probable you'll face this, okay? So with a video conference, conducting an interview via video conference enables an employer to save travel costs and still, in effect, have a person-to-person interview. So this subject here is coming up next week. So please make sure that you sign up to attend our video interview workshop next week at the same time. All right. I hope everyone is listening still. So to ensure that everyone has been listening to me, I have a question. As you see this list of the types of interviews before you, my question to all of you is this: which of the interview types would qualify as an informal interview? So I know Megan's going to put this question in the chat window. Which of the interview types would qualify as informal interviews? I want to know your thoughts. So I'm going to give everyone up to 1 minute to chime in and let me know your thoughts. Once again, the question hasn't changed. Which of the interview types would qualify as informal interviews from this list that you see in front of you? Let me see who's listening. So please share your thoughts. There's no such thing as an incorrect contribution. So Megan, please let me know their thoughts.
So we have somebody who says lunch dinner interview.
Not bad. You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Any other recommendations or suggestions?
Coworker interview is another suggestion.
Yeah, I like that.
Uh-huh.
They're correct thus far. Any more from this inventory?
Can I venture to take a guess?
Okay, go ahead.
Um, those are good ones though.
Yeah, it's
Coworker
quite tricky,
lunch date.
right?
It is actually. Now I'm looking at it. Not panel, definitely not.
Okay.
What about group interview?
Unfortunately, no. That would
Ah,
be formal.
darn. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, behavioral? Somebody else guessed?
Unfortunately, no. Behavioral is
Ah,
also formal.
we're in this together, everybody.
Okay. All right. I guess in interest of time, I'm going to share. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much, guys. So, just to conclude, the answer would be the following: coworker interview or lunch dinner interview. Once again, coworker interview or lunch dinner interview. But let me clarify the lunch or dinner interview, because friends, that could also fall into the formal category at times. Remember that. Okay? Thank you. Next, please. So, types of questions that you may be asked. We have two popular questions that we're going to look at, we're going to tackle. So, typical questions, these questions are asked by most interviewers or most employers. So, the first question is, can you tell me about yourself? Can you tell me about yourself? Or, in other words, tell me about yourself. So, here's my question to all of you. I want to know what you know. Okay. So, my question is, how would you answer, can you tell me about yourself? And I know Megan's going to put this question, I see it. So, let me know your thoughts. How would you approach this key question? Can you tell me about yourself? So take a few seconds to reflect and then type in your approach. Thank you. And as usual, I will be on standby. So once again, just type into the chat window some key points governing the framework for how you would respond to, can you tell me about yourself? Based on your own understanding or experience, please. Thank you.
This is an interesting question because I find that we're often taught to not speak of ourselves too much, so it
Okay.
comes unnaturally.
Uh-huh.
Somebody says, I would highlight my best skills.
Okay. Yeah, that should be part of it. Thank
Yeah.
you.
And then another person says, give a brief of your professional background and skills.
I like that. An overview of your experience and skills. I like that.
Hmm.
Anything more from our friends on Facebook and other social media joining us today?
Nothing coming through Facebook, but I have another idea.
Okay.
Would it be an appropriate time to talk about what interests you?
Perhaps. Yes, that could be integrated. Like if you're talking about your interests relating to the company's mission or vision statement or the core
Mhm.
values, then definitely you
Hmm.
can add those components. Anything else?
Introducing your name. This was somebody coming through the chat. Introducing your
Okay,
name with background and why you are interested in the job.
wonderful. Thank you so much, friends. Thus far, I like the
Oh,
summary.
there's another one. I would also talk about my previous work experience.
Definitely. So I
Mhm.
believe we're all on the same page on this, but let me ensure that we're all on the same page and we get the same message, okay? So firstly, remember, first impressions are very important. The employer may be trying to get an impression of your personality and trying to determine your fit into their workplace. This is a perfect chance for you to take the employer on a career journey and recap your story. So, specifically for Tell Me About Yourself, in conjunction with the great insights that you guys have contributed, I would say begin to use this framework. Start by stating your full name, first and last names. Then provide an overview or summary of your work experience within the related field. Once again, the same rule of thumb applies as it does to the resume. So if you have more than 10 years of frontline experience, please don't state the specific years beyond 10 years. But if you have less than 10 years, then state those years accordingly. Also, share with the employer your education, your training, your certifications, which are relevant to the job. And make sure you align your work experience, as most of you have already suggested. State the specific employer or employers that you've worked for, your specific title or titles, the key responsibilities or contributions or accomplishments that you've had over the years. And I would say that try to focus on your most recent employers, your past two employers. Okay? Also, demonstrate your familiarity within the field. State the specific functions, processes, and make sure you use industry jargons or terminologies so that they understand that you're informed. You can also state your personal strengths needed for that specific job. For example, you may want to mention that you're a team player, you have strong analytical skills, you also have excellent communication skills. Try your best to relate your personal strengths to the requirements of the employer. And of course, as Megan suggested, make sure that you state your interests. So align yourself with the company's mission or vision statement and put yourself into the big picture by telling the employer that you speak their language. Okay, so these are things that you should consider for the Tell Me About Yourself. Let's move on to the second question that you see here. Why do you want to leave your current employer? Or, in other words, why did you leave your last job or last employer? How would you guys tackle this question? Let me ask you first. How would you guys respond to this question in terms of why do you want to leave your current position or why did you leave your last employer? I want to know your thoughts very quickly. Remember, there aren't any incorrect contributions, so just share, speak your mind. How would you tackle this question? It's a difficult one, I know.
I, as people are thinking about it, I almost want to say that maybe
Uh-huh.
less is more when
Okay,
answering this question.
okay. So what do you have in mind based on this principle?
Just keeping it to the facts and not going into a whole bunch of details.
I like that. I
Yeah.
like that, Megan. I'm seeing some prompts in our chat window.
Yeah, and then so a couple of answers in the chat just came through.
Uh-huh.
So one person says, I'm looking for a different opportunity to grow.
I like that.
And then somebody else says the same thing, for a better opportunity to grow.
Wonderful. Anything else? Okay, you know what? I'm satisfied. So let me explain. So thank you so much, friends, for your contributions. So let's ensure that we're all on the same page on this, though, okay? So for the question, in terms of why do you want to leave your last or current position, please respond in the following fashion. Always answer in a positive way and never speak badly about a former employer. Make sure that you focus your key messages about what it is that you're looking for in the job. You can also state that you're looking for growth opportunities or career advancements, as our friends suggested. But let me add this to the equation. You can also mention that you seek change or challenge or something new and exciting. If you are unfortunately separated from your employer or you were fired from your previous employer, please do your best to state positive facts about the length of employment with your previous employer, your specific accomplishments or contributions made, and emphasize that you want an opportunity to contribute your talent with the prospective employer. So please don't come out and share with any employer that you were fired. Rather, focus on what I've just advised you. Okay? Thank you. Next slide, please. So, types of questions, behavioral competency based. So, these are based on discovering how the interviewee acted in a specific employment related situation or situations. The logic is that how you behaved in the past will predict how you'll behave in the future. Example, past performance predicts future performance. So, my question to all of you is this, but before I ask the question, let me give you the sample question. So it reads, what do you do when your schedule is interrupted? Give an example of how you handle interruptions while working. I repeat, what do you do when your schedule is interrupted? Give an example of how you handle interruptions while working. So my question to everyone is this. How would you answer this question? And secondly, what is the employer's main concern in asking this question? And I know Megan's going to put this in the chat window. So once again, based on the example that you see, how would you answer this question? And what is the employer's main concern or underlying concern? Please share your thoughts. I want to hear from you.
We'll give everybody a few minutes to mull that over.
Definitely. Today,
Yeah.
I'm really, getting people to think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's good.
So we're practicing in essence.
Yeah.
So once again, this behavioral question, how would you approach it? What do you believe is the underlying concern of the employer? Let me know your thoughts. And you can use keywords to sort of form the framework or the approach to your answer. So type those keywords into the chat window. I hope this question hasn't stumped anyone.
As usual, I have ideas, but I want to give others a chance to
Okay, sure.
answer first.
We want to hear from you guys first before we spoon feed you.
No.
Okay, nothing's coming. Wow.
Nothing's coming. Everybody's just thinking so
Wow.
hard about it, I think.
Okay, just go with your gut
Oh,
instinct.
here we go.
Okay.
By sharing your positive experience in past jobs dealing with the same type.
Okay. So dealing with interruptions, share your experience. That's not bad.
I like that idea of
Mm-hmm,
giving
mm-hmm.
specific examples.
Yeah, it's always beneficial. Thanks.
Yeah. And then the next person says, I would make sure everything is in place before I leave my responsibilities.
Okay, so that would be your answer. Having things organized or things being in place. Okay.
Which I think nods
Mm-hmm.
to your ability to prioritize.
Exactly. So
Hmm.
friends, in interest of time, here are some keywords that you could use as the basis of your answer. So Megan has already leaked one in terms of your ability to prioritize, your ability to also Organize yourself, as someone already mentioned. So your organizational skills, you can use that as the basis of your answer. Also, how flexible are you? How adaptable are you? So if you use any of these keywords to form the foundation of your answer, then you'll be able to answer this question successfully. So prioritizing, organizing, as I said, also your ability to what did I say? Prioritize. I'm forgetting myself. Your ability to be flexible, adaptable. All these relates to the underlying concern of the employer. Thank you. Next slide. So some examples that we can think of for behavioral type questions would also be, give me an example of a time when you improved customer service if you're in that sector. Another example could be, can you describe a project in which you stepped outside your area of expertise? And another behavioral question could be, how do you handle conflict with a coworker? So all these questions would require the following answering strategy. So typical questions. First things first, you need to understand what's really being asked. Secondly, answer the question briefly and in a non-damaging way by staying positive. Also, remember to answer the real concern by presenting your skills. Let me explain this further. When you're faced with these types of questions, do not feel that you have to rush through your answers, but rather take a deep breath. Think about the question and your answer before you proceed. And if you ever need clarification, friends, don't be afraid to ask for clarification. Spending a few seconds, anywhere between 5 to 10 seconds to pause before answering your interview question offers three key benefits. What are these three benefits of pausing for 5 to 10 seconds? It will project confidence and control over the situation. Secondly, it provides extra time for you to think about what it is that you want to say or share. And then thirdly, it gives extra time to think about how you deliver your content or message. So remember, it's not a bad thing to pause 5 to 10 seconds to gather your thoughts before you answer. Next slide, please. So in using the answering strategies that we're talking about, make sure that you follow all parts of the STAR method. Be as specific as possible without rambling or including too much information. Avoid any examples that do not paint you in a positive light. Recall recent situations that demonstrate favorable behaviors or actions, especially involving your work experience, your leadership skills, teamwork, initiative, planning, and customer service. So you'll notice here that in order for you to be successful, you need to use the behavioral questions approach, which is called the STAR method. So the S stands for the situation. So first and foremost, you need to describe the situation or a task you needed to accomplish, and this will frame the situation. So usually you'll have to use part of the question and formulating your answer, just like when we were back in school. So for the T, the task, you need to describe what your task was, what you were doing, and what the goal involved. And then for the action, all the steps that you took, what you did, why, how, who else was involved, what you did step by step. And then for the R is the outcome or the result that you achieved. So how the problem was solved and what you accomplished and learned. Let me explain this further. So prepare short descriptions of each situation. Be ready to give details if asked. Be sure each story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. For example, be ready to describe the situation, including the task at hand, your action or actions, and the outcome or the result. Be sure the outcome or the result reflects positively on you, even if the result itself was not favorable. Be honest at all times. Don't embellish or omit any part of the story. The interviewer will find out if your story is built on a weak foundation. Be specific. Don't generalize about several events. Rather, give detailed account of one event when applying the STAR method. Remember that. Next, please. So for behavioral competency-based questions, interviewers are looking for you to tell them story with a beginning, middle, and an end, as I previously stated. The more specific and detailed you are, the easier it will be for the interviewer to determine if you possess the right skills, knowledge, and or attitudes that they're looking for. So once again, remember to use the STAR approach. So the S, describe the situation. The T, what was your task in the situation? The A, which is the action, what actions were involved, or what was the action that you performed? And then the R, the result, what were the result? Be specific. And friends, it's really important for you to practice using the STAR formula until it becomes a natural process for you. Okay, because it takes time to really understand how to use this framework. So please practice. Next, please. So as a candidate, I always recommend that you have at least 5 well thought out questions to ask your potential employers. So relating to when is your turn to ask questions, please make sure you do the following. It's your turn to prepare a few questions for the interviewer. Typically, you should prepare 5 questions. Some of your questions will be naturally answered throughout the interviewing process. So I've compiled a list that Megan is going to share with you of 9 really good questions that you can ask your prospective employers in the near future. So I can't read all of them, but I'm going to highlight the key ones that I'm able to read, okay? So a question that you could ask could be this. Can you tell me more about the day-to-day responsibilities of this job? Another important question could be, what do you think are the most important qualities for someone to excel within this role? Another question could be, can you please describe the culture of the company? Number 5, you can ask, what are the biggest opportunities facing the company or department right now? You may also want to ask, what are the biggest challenges facing the company or department right now? Also, what is the typical career path for someone in this role? And then finally, you may ask this question, what are the next steps involved in the interviewing process? Okay, so these are all great questions to ask. But friends, please note that the best way to be prepared with winning questions is through your company research. These days, friends, note that a lot of employers have company pages on LinkedIn, other social media platforms. So please use LinkedIn in conjunction with the company website to learn as much as you can learn about their mission statement, their vision statement, their core products, services, and even maybe the specific department or the area of specialization that you're focused on. So this way you can ask them thought-provoking questions to stand out from the competition. Remember that. Next, please. Great. So the key hints and tips for successful interviewing, I'm going to provide a list of the following. So before the interview, and I know Megan's going to share this great list with you, but I will still explain. And also things that you need to be mindful of during the interview. And then finally, after the interview, what are the key things that you must do? Let's start from the top with the before the interview, okay? So before the interview, once again, make sure that you conduct company research because it will make or break your interview. Also, prepare success stories. Have 5 concrete examples of achievement contributions you've made in the past or you've had on employers. Also, make sure you prepare your interviewing clothing a day or two in advance. Check how you're going to get there in terms of the timing, the route, especially if you're unfamiliar with the environment. So plan your trip. Also, what to take with you, really important documents. Make sure that you bring your cover letter, the original one, and also your resume, the original one that you sent to the employer, dated when you sent it to that employer. Bring extra copies of that. Certificates, official documents, work samples, awards, your list of accomplishments, your reference list. And please ensure that you organize these documents in a career portfolio. If you don't know what a career portfolio is, you can Google. Okay? And make sure your questions that you're going to ask, you have them on standby, and also a little notebook and pen or pencil handy. Also, make sure that you manage your nerves, relax, make sure you get a good night's rest, plan your day before the interview. All these things are important before the interview do's, okay? Let's move on and talk about what you need to do or what you need to be mindful of during the interview. First things first, know your business manners. Be friendly to the receptionist, but don't talk too much and act professionally while waiting. Okay, so this could also apply when you're doing your video interview as well. Make sure your body language is good. You have a firm handshake. Well, these days we're not extending handshakes, but if we ever go back to the norm, then you would extend a firm handshake. Make sure you engage through eye contact. Your sitting position should be open and relaxed. Make sure you have natural gestures. Make sure you stay upbeat and focused at all times. And act confident even if you don't feel like it. Manage your nerves by smiling, taking deep breaths, right? Speak slowly and clearly as I'm doing right now. Also, remember your success stories and the key points that you want to get across. Let the employer know what it is that you have to offer and how you can contribute to the company. And also make sure you prepare a few intelligent questions as advised in advance to ask the interviewer. Let's conclude with after the interview, key things that you must do. So first of all, make sure you thank the interviewers at the end of the interviewing process. Do your best to collect the interviewer's business card or their contact information. Make sure you leave as soon as the interview ends, both in person and virtually. Immediately after the interview, do a personal evaluation of how the process went by writing down all the key questions that you were asked and assess them against your responses to know how you truly performed. Okay, because oftentimes when we're going through the interviewing process, we are somewhat delirious, we're sort of out of our senses. So that's why you need to use this continuous improvement measure as I've advised. Okay, make sure you send a thank you letter or email within 24 hours of the conversation. Follow up with a telephone call within a few days or specifically within the agreed upon time frame. And if you're ever unsuccessful, which we don't hope for, but it could become your reality in securing the job, if you're unsuccessful, ask for feedback from the interviewer as to how you can improve in the future. Some employers may actually provide feedback and some won't. But I believe it's still worth asking because there's always room for improvement. Next, please. Thank you. So we are on our contact information slide. So as we are a service provider, we always want to get your feedback. So our funders want to know, my employer wants to know, based on your experience today in attending ACE, your job interview workshop with Quadro and Megan, would you say that you've received the information that you needed? So Megan is going to put this question, I see it in the chat window. So simply select based on your experience today. Would you say that you strongly agree or the other selections there? So you can simply put in a number or type in your answer based on the guidelines provided. So as you're typing in your answers, I'm going to share with you how you can stay in touch. So job skills contact information. Job skills services and programs are here to support you. Once again, our programs and services are free to everyone. We have over 40 workshops and counting, resources for job seekers, employers, and the community, and they're available through our website, which is www.jobskills.org. For detailed information on all our specific programs and services, you can call us toll free 1-866-592-6278. 1-866-592-6278. Once again, you can email us at info@jobskills.org. And please connect with us on social media. We are on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, and we also have our own YouTube channel. So please make sure you subscribe to it. Next, please. And please have your questions ready for me. We are approaching the end of today's session. Don't go anywhere. The question and answers period is always fantastic. So stay with us. The Welcome Center's contact information. Once again, if you have any family members or friends who are new to Canada who can use our services, please refer them to our website, which is www.welcomecenter.ca. They can call us toll free 1-877-761-1155. Once again, 1-877-761-1155. They can email us at info@welcomecenter.ca. And once again, they can join us on social media. So next slide, please, Megan. So thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope you've learned a lot. All right, so we're going to get into our question and answers period. So at this time, Megan, please stop the recording. Thank you.